This is one of those games where I don't know if I want to talk more about the winning team or the losing team. Like, obviously, you can start and talk about how well the Nuggets played, how well Jokic played. I mean, I think, we kind of talked about it a couple of days ago, but Jokic is clearly the best player this postseason. He's averaging almost a 30-point triple-double. You know what I mean? So we can talk about that. We can talk about how great the Nuggets were, but the Suns. Yes. I mean, what we saw from them, especially in that first half, this is back-to-back like playoff embarrassments.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not a good look because, like you said, the Dallas Mavericks really blew them out last year. They damn near lost by 40 to them last year, and this year in the closeout game or in the win or lose game, you lose by 25 points. It's just not a good look because now you're going to have to start looking at coaching, like GMs, like a lot of people that's just been involved with the team. You're going to have to start looking at players. Should we trade certain players? Should we just leave them on the team? Like, you're going to have to look at a lot of pieces that's on the team as if you might have to make some moves because this is something that shouldn't happen, especially back-to-back years. We all said last year the thing that happened, okay, that's just kind of random, like that's just one of those times. I don't think it was. I think it's just what it is.
Yeah, dog. If it's not gonna work with this team, you guys, especially what you gave up to build it, then I don't know what's gonna work.
Carl, you made a good point. You literally said it. I mean, I remember last year that Mavericks Suns game being like, okay, this is like a one-time thing. I don't think it's going to happen again. When you look at it now, I read this off ESPN Stats and Info. The two largest postseason halftime deficits in Suns franchise history have now occurred in the last 2 years. There's obviously last season they trailed by 30 at halftime against Dallas, and they trailed by 30 at halftime this year against the Nuggets. So, as you said, there's a lot of stuff that's got to get looked at. For one, I think the elephant in the room, and I know he kind of got going late. He had like a streak in the third quarter where he had like 5 straight shots. But the Kevin Durant thing, like, he doesn't have. This wasn't a bad series by him. You know what I mean? If you look at it, I mean, him and Booker had a couple of games where, I mean, by his standards, it could have been better. But him and Booker had a couple of games where they were off the chain. But I think this elimination game, this game 6, he just didn't have it. Right, like I'm seeing him miss point blank. I texted y'all. This is a career 50% plus field goal shooter, and the shots he was missing, these weren't like long distance looks. These were shots that he makes routinely on a year in, year out basis, on a daily basis. So that's the first glaring thing to me. I know Booker got locked down too, but Durant, even the turnovers were just sloppy. Like, I'm not going to sit and act like the Suns completely took him out the game. A lot of that stuff, or the Nuggets completely took him out the game, a lot of that stuff was on him.
No. Kevin Durant shot 8 for 19, which doesn't sound that bad, but we all know how he started that first half. I think he was like, at one point, he was like 1 for 9.
Yeah.
1 for 10 at one point. So a lot of the buckets that he got up to 23 points, those were garbage points. He started out, that is probably the worst I've seen him start out a game, especially in a playoff series. It was that bad. You was tripping off of it. You was like, I've never seen him miss this many bunnies, like mid-range shots that he always makes. He was missing wide open threes. He was fumbling the ball, turning the ball over uncharacteristically, and it didn't look great.
So. I over here talking about you over here point shaving where you was missing them shots.
The way it was look like, we watched Durant make these shots routinely, and Carl, you said it like, okay, 8 for 19, that's not a bad game. The 1 for 9 or whatever it was the first half was what lost him the game. Like that was a game that was lost at halftime, right? That was a game that the only half that mattered was what Kevin Durant did in that first half. That game was done by halftime. There was zero energy. The arena was done with them. I'm surprised they didn't boo him. And it looked like they went out there and gave up.
Yeah.
Did they get booed? I may have missed it.
Yeah, they get booed. They got booed. You probably turned the shit off just like we did. So probably that game, I wouldn't even say that game was over at halftime. That game was over probably with like 6 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yes.
Because once it just went up to 30, at first it went up 15. Obviously, then it went up to 20. You were like, what the hell going on? Then that shit went up to 30. We was like, it's no way you coming back from a 30-point deficit like that. It's just because it just felt like they came out flat. Well, they didn't come out flat in the first quarter. It's just like something changed going into the second quarter. Like they just stopped trying. They stopped giving effort. Wasn't going back on defense, missing wide open threes. Even Devin Booker was tripping. I'm like, Coach Monty looked like he didn't know what the hell was going on. He'd probably go lose his job. I'm sorry to say it, but it's probably gonna happen because when you get blowed out in back-to-back playoff series, back-to-back years, and winner go home games, it's not a good look on the franchise.
At home.
Yeah.
It's like both of those.
At home, that's even worse. So.
Both of those games just no. Ooh, excuse me. Both of those games, no adjustments were made whatsoever.
Yeah.
Bad basketball all around.
Yeah, no.
I think the thing
I was gonna say he might have the Doc Rivers treatment. He don't like to adjust.
I think the thing that got
Doc Rivers can get to like a game 7 or something.
Yeah.
Push it to that.
Well, no, Doc Rivers will get to a game 7 when he's leading 3-1.
You're right. Hey, that's true. That's true. What killed me the most was the defense. Like we can talk about the offensive stuff, right? I mean, the defense is what really, outside of the Durant thing, the defense is what really got me. Like Denver got whatever the hell they wanted on the offensive end. KCP, you let KCP get 21 in the first half, and these weren't even all catch and shoot buckets. These were cuts to the basket. These were like these creative, crafty finishes around the rim, all of that stuff. Like, and then Joker, I mean, we knew it with Ayton out. They never had an answer for Jokic the whole series, but with Ayton out, we were kind of like, okay, like we know he's gonna eat. But if you have these types of games where you already know one guy's going to dominate, at least try to do everything you can to take everybody else out of the game, right? Maybe let Jokic get his and, defend like hell with everybody else. The Buckets, they're giving up these cuts to the rim, these wide open shots. This was a game where they especially needed high level team defense. You knew you weren't going to be able to match up against Jokic. The team defense wasn't there. The chemistry wasn't there. They gave up. The Nuggets, it looked like they were running through practice. It looked like they were running through practice plays the whole game. It's scrimmage. Yep. It
looked like a varsity team facing a freshman team. I'm not even going to give the Suns and say they were a JV team tonight because they weren't.
Yeah.
They were a freshman team.
Yeah.
Playing a varsity team. That's what it looked like. And then again, it didn't even look like the Nuggets, like I said, it even looked like they were trying.
No, it didn't.
I honestly felt like if they wanted to, this 25-point deficit that they won against the Suns by, it could have easily been 40 if they wanted to do that.
I just don't understand. You got all that talent and it's just you do this. It just makes zero sense.
I agree, and I know they were undermanned, right? Because everybody's gonna be like, "Well, Chris Paul wasn't there, DeAndre Ayton wasn't there." I understand that, but you could have put up a better fight than this. There was no fight in a game 6. We shouldn't already know where the game is gonna go by the middle of the second quarter. By the middle of the second quarter, Carl was like, "Y'all, let's hurry up and get in here and record." Before halftime was over with. So that's just how bad that looked. They could have put up a much better fight. There just wasn't any pushback. You feel me? And then, now, and Carla mentioned it, y'all had mentioned it, where do they go from here? Where do you go? So now you're in a situation where you already know you have a disgruntled big man, right? Who turned into just a pick and roll guy. I mean, they tried to get him more looks this season, but there's no upside with DeAndre Ayton in Phoenix. He's done. We know he's done. He doesn't mesh with the other guys. He's out. What do you do with Chris Paul, right? Where does Kevin Durant go? Does Kevin Durant even want to stay? Because, I mean, he got traded here, but he got traded here. This wasn't, I don't think this maybe was like the most ideal situation for him. I'm not sure. He
probably got like a couple years on his contract, I think.
He got like
4 years. So like I wouldn't if I was Phoenix, I wouldn't trade his ass. If he wants to come here, he wants to get traded, he's staying his ass here. We ain't about to do that. You don't want to play here no more. We go trade. No. You ain't give us none to the franchise. You lost in the second round. Stay your ass here. It's all to come out. But that serves a question about Chris Paul. They go trade him because he is an aging player. Obviously, he's not the same. Mm-hmm. Even if people want to give the excuse that they weren't all healthy, I saw those first 2 games in the series and Nuggets they beat them. So I don't get that excuse can only go so far with me because I saw the Nuggets beat the Suns at full health. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know about that, but it just isn't a good look because Chris Paul, I don't even know if he was going to be there 3 games, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If he would have helped that much, they won a couple games without him. Do they really need him? Mm-hmm. You all know the situation with DeAndre Ayton. Like, did they honestly think that because he wasn't playing tonight, they had a chance to win? Like, you already missing Chris Paul. Like, I hope that injury was serious enough for him to not like at least try to give it a go. Because once they said that, you even said it yourself, Ty. You was like, they losing.
Yeah. I mean, even with DeAndre Ayton, it's kind of surprising based off the minimal effort he's been getting this whole series. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I saw that injury report before the game started. I was like,
yeah. But like I said, it just should have been more competitive, right? And I like it can speak to a lot of things, but this just isn't. And what's so messed up is this is a team that got to the 2021 finals, and they lose, and the whole thing is, okay, we're going to be back next year even stronger. In back-to-back seasons, they wet the bed. So it's one of the most disappointing teams ever. And we've seen this with a couple of teams where they have these really hot, seasons or whatever, and they show a lot in the postseason, and they just can't follow it up. Phoenix could not follow it up, and they had all the talents to do just that, and they weren't able to do it.
I mean, two of the most disappointing teams that we've seen had Kevin Durant on it. I'm just being honest. KD and James Harden, that didn't work out. With Devin Booker, who's probably a top 20, top 15 type player. He looks like a top 10 player the way he's playing in these playoffs. But you with Devin Booker too. That didn't seem to work out. And then, like you said, the Suns gave away Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Can we've seen if they didn't trade for Kevin Durant, you think they probably would have got past the Nuggets? Probably not. I don't know what would have happened, but I guarantee you this series would have been more competitive. Because it would have been more depth on the team. They struggled with depth at times too, because also even though the depth showed up in games 3 and 4, I told you I was like, they're not going to do it again. I just don't see it happening. But they gave up depth. They gave up basically their whole squad for KD, and I think that paid dividends. That hurt them the most this series.
And we talk about the defensive impact of losing Mikal Bridges. Like, I mean, what if we would have got a Mikal Bridges, put him on Jamal Murray type of situation? Does Jamal Murray, I mean, he wasn't the most dominant player of the series for Denver, but does he get some of the looks he's able to get? You know what I'm saying? Like, Landry Shamet was the best Jamal Murray defender this series, and that wasn't enough. So, like, it's different. Shamet's a good defender, but it's different if...
It's a kind of a drop-off between him and...
Bridges is low-key a top 10 defensive player. So that's a good question, Carl. Does the same thing happen if Bridges and Johnson are here? You know what I mean? And that's a question. But also, you can if you're going to ask that question, you ask the same question: does this happen if Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton are all healthy? You know what I mean? There's that whole thing.
It probably does. No one knows.
I think it will because they dominated. Well, they didn't dominate them the first 2 games, but they still won those games decidedly. Like they clearly won those games handily the first 2 games that the Nuggets faced the Suns. So I'm not going to fall into that. Oh, Chris Paul wasn't healthy. DeAndre Ayton wasn't healthy. He gave dude 53 points in Game 4. I don't care. I don't.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's I mean it's just rough and like I said, and I hate this for Monty Williams because I love him as a coach and I think he's a great guy, but you got to move on probably from this. You know what I'm saying? And because like it's just the level of these losses you had in these games over the last couple of years at home. Like, okay, if this was on the road, I still whack, but I get it. But these are back-to-back embarrassing playoff losses at home. You feel me?
I'm trying to remember. Didn't he lose the finals? The finals the Suns were up 2-0 and they lost 4 straight games too. And they lost the close. They lost the another winner lose game at home. I'm thinking about it, they lost game 6 at home.
Yep.
That's a weird 3-year run, bro.
That's very interesting. He's I'm not going to say he's the main reason, obviously, but I guess he didn't make adjustment because I was pissed off. I like Giannis, but I was pissed off during that finals that they played the Bucks because I was just like, you not making any adjustments? Like, Aiden can't guard him. They just kept trying things that didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. And even, but then, like I said, they sacrificed a lot defensively because now we know what they're gonna have to get. Like if they do want to run it back with Booker and KD or whatever, you got to get guys who can defend the interior a lot more. Like there's not a lot of guys who can stop Jokic, but if you're letting him run wild like that, I mean, he can. I said this to y'all in text. Nikola Jokic makes the right play 98% of the time. Like, can we just sit and think about that? Like, you rarely see Nikola Jokic mess up on the court. So I think their priority, and this is an issue even now in the Eastern Conference with Embiid and everything, and even Giannis, you got to figure out if you're looking to contend right now. Like, I don't want to go jump the gun and say Denver's going to be the team in the West the next couple of years, but they now know we've got to get something on the interior. We've got to get somebody to help us compete against a guy like Jokic. You feel me? Like that was a kind of a thing with them beating Giannis for a couple of years out in the East. Going to be a thing in the Western Conference is we've got to figure out a way to kind of stop this guy. You got to figure out the defensive system. You got to figure out and get better defensive bodies, but they can still run it back. Maybe a new coach, but they have to handle these off-season deals that they make. they have to handle it the right way. You know what I mean?
Yes,
you got to get some defensive help first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you do.
That I don't know. This series has kind of got me thinking that they lost a little bit more in that game in that KD trade. I may be wrong, but at the same, just looking at this whole series, it's just been like it's something. It feels like something missing, bro.
Yeah,
that's debatable. You can debate that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
You can debate that because they definitely lost some of their bench and they definitely lost some defensive player. But then you gained the once a time in a lifetime type of score in Kevin Durant that went 8 for 19 in the game 6. But
that helped you.
But that's the tough trade-off when these superstar trades happen. That's why it's interesting because you said that, because when these types of things happen, you give up like what you value, right? So you give up all of that to get. That's what you're gonna have to do to get a guy like Kevin Durant in a trade situation. Like the only other way you get him is in free agency, where you have to give up nothing. But you're good. Like we even saw with Dallas, they gave up a lot defensively to get Kyrie. Like we saw both of that, and it's amazing. It killed both of those teams. But that's what you're gonna have to give up to get something like that. So now your question is, should these teams? Now we know these teams shouldn't sacrifice a core that's worked just to try to get these superstar players to pair along with these other superstar players, because that depth is going to kick your ass a lot moving forward.
I feel like Todd said, what works or what is getting you steady, making you improve every year, you just have to keep building off that. And you see teams like the Warriors being created, that's like the prime example of people, of them being though they did make a coaching change with Steve Kerr, sometimes you do have to make that coaching change. I'm going to give credit to you, Ty. You talk about that all the time. Do you really want to blow up a team, or do you want to just change the coaches and give it another try? But you might end up being like I'm not calling a team a dynasty, but you might end up winning a couple championships like Golden State. You might end up building towards something like the Raptors did, trade a couple of your players, but you still keep your core of defensive players to get Kawhi Leonard. Yeah. So you have to keep those bench players and some of your core in. So because most of the time when you give away your bench and your depth and your defense, you're not going to be successful. It's just not going to happen.
Let's look at the last couple of NBA champions, right? You said it, Golden State. Golden State's been built. Golden State's whole thing is development. I know they had Kevin Durant and everything, but they were a 73-win team based off of the talent that they had developed over the years. The Milwaukee Bucks, right? I mean, I know they went and got Drew, but Giannis being their best player, homegrown and developed. Or even look at Denver. Like let's say hypothetically Denver goes and makes a finals run, which is very likely the way they're looking. This is the best I've seen Denver play. Same thing, homegrown talent. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, no Carter want to hear that. But homegrown talent. I mean, hell, they like the homegrown talent that you developed over the years beat a motherfucking team that thought they could just go ship a motherfucker out and get Kevin Durant and think that's gonna work. Then you've got who else? I mean, the Lakers are the only exception to that. LeBron James teams are the only exception to that. Only exception, and LeBron's arguably the greatest basketball player ever. That's why that works.
Yeah, I would say LeBron is clearly the only exception because we've seen him have something to do with players getting acquired halfway through the season or before the season starts, and somehow he makes it work just like that fast. I don't know how. Maybe it's his level of IQ that he has for the game, or his talent just always meshes well with whoever he handpicks that he wants to be traded to his team or sign a free agency. But he never has the problems that it seems like Kevin Durant has. For some weird reason, that Kevin Durant, especially on the offensive end, is way more talented than LeBron is. So you would think it'd be easier for KD, but it's not. Yeah, so I don't know.
It'll be a fun off season for Phoenix, like I said, between trades. It's
gonna be a long off season for them.
I mean, coaching, there's some stuff to look for because there are a lot of coaches right now that are just open on the market. Like, I mean, I forget where the Nick Nurse situation is at right now. But I mean, he's out there, I think, still, so you can take a look at that. I mean, there are some good coaching options. DeAndre Ayton is a guy I think you can get good players for. Like, I know, because I feel like the thing with Ayton is somebody out there is going to be like, you come here, we can make you a 20-10 guy. You come here, we can make you an all-star. We can make an offer. Some teams, I know if I'm a GM, I see the upside. Y'all may not. I see the upside in DeAndre Ayton.
I mean, I do. It's just because of the fact that he just doesn't want to be in Phoenix. That's like half more than like 90% of why he's playing. Like,
that's really what I think. That's really what I think.
I don't. But even before,
if you look at that dude's body, that he ain't. He ain't been one to been there since the start of the season.
Yeah, man.
But even before then, though, he did have moments where he just looked soft. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I mean,
he's been there since 2017, right?
Yeah. They were here and there, but it wasn't as nearly as many as it's been this season. Especially since we already know that the dude just doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're talking about a guy who literally said, "I don't want to bet." He didn't literally say it, but he insinuated.
He might as well as literally.
I just want to know how you 7 feet tall and your ass barely getting 3 rebounds sometimes. You got dudes that sick. You got Chris, bro. You got Steph Curry getting triple doubles, and your big tall ass can't get 3 rebounds.
Yeah,
I don't. That's why I don't think it's just more than that. I think we keep hoping that he's going to become some type of 20 and 10 consistent type of player. I think we might have to just be realistic, and he has the talent to be that, but he just might not be that. I think sometimes we kind of get caught up in what we think a guy can become, and we're just not looking at the facts of what he is.
Yeah, does he have that motor and all of that stuff?
Yeah, I don't know if he. I think he is who he is. I'm not saying he a bust or anything, because I've seen players not live up to the 1-1 pick that are like way worse, but he's just not what we want him to be, and what we know he can be. He's just not that. I don't think.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think the biggest thing is just who can you get for him at his contract, and it's a sizable contract to get some stuff back. And I think there's a GM out there who's like, we can bring him in here and we can make him this guy. I mean, OKC's looking at him. You know, I know that was kind of a big thing and all of that. So we'll see what happens. But you know, the Chris Paul thing, how does that work out? And what is Kevin Durant? What's his attitude like in the offseason? But it'll be interesting, you know, moving into this offseason for this Suns team. But shout out to the Nuggets for making this one happen.
Yeah, no, DeAndre Ayton is like, it's very frustrating. Like, look at these numbers. They're not terrible, but they definitely.
These playoffs are bad.
Playoff. He had a couple 20-point games. Like, wait, he had one.
So he had one 20-point game the whole. Like, I mean, I know pretty much Spanish since the Clippers series, one 20-point game.
Yeah,
this dude sucks.
Goddamn. But they ain't that bad now. But 4 points is crazy. But look, it's only 6 shot attempts though. That's the thing that you all can get me with, the 6 shot attempts. Like he's a traditional big man. He's not a Giannis or whatever the case may be. He can go out and dribble and get his own shots and everything like that. He has to have the team to kind of have plays for him, set plays, and pass him the ball. They definitely don't pass the ball.
Get this off the screen. I don't want to look at this now.
Yeah, but the thing is also he gets it. I think the big annoyance with him is he got his opportunities, and it's just a matter of how well did he take advantage of them. Because there was a point increase, like his first year under Monty Williams, 14 points a game. Like if I'm a player, I'm a developing young player, I'm gonna be mad at that. Those 14 points a game are directly related to his touches. So like I said, I get it. I get it from his perspective. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm cutting him a bit of slack. It's never good to just sit down on your team. But like going from 18 a game, 2019, 2020 to 14 a game, and we know it's because of how they used you on an offensive standpoint. I know why there's a rift between him and Monty Williams. That's why I believe in his game a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? It looked like he was on this upward trajectory, and then the Chris Paul comes in, and now you turn to just a pick and roll player. I see why he's disappointed. You feel me?
They kind of turned him into a Clint Capella.
Pretty much. But less athletic.
Yeah, but he's more talented than Clint Capella, so that's why it's kind of disappointing. So we will definitely see. I would predict this offseason if he's about that life and he's the player we know he can be on another team. Because like I said, he won't be there. I don't think Chris Paul is going to be there. I'll be honest with you, because he's aging. He's not the same player. He's a liability. He doesn't even play defense on the same level, and he's always hurt.
I think for that reason it'll be tougher than the trade.
He is definitely always hurt though, because when you always picking the Suns to come out the West, the first thing I told you all was, I don't know, because their health is just not great. Like Devin Booker was never a hurt player, but over the last few years he's had hamstring problems. And Chris Paul, ever since his Houston Rocket days, every time he's playing good, something pops in his leg. So and Kevin Durant, we know his history. Yeah,
I think for like the reason you mentioned Chris Paul, like his age, I don't think he's tradable right now. I think he ends his career in Phoenix.
No, his contract is still pretty high. I don't want to say he's going to retire. I mean, you never know, but I doubt that, because he probably still thinks he can milk out a couple more years. But his contract, what it's worth, and what he actually plays at is two different things.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna pick up on.
He plays like he's probably worth $20 million a year, probably.
Unless you're the Clippers, you buy it on a Chris Paul trade package. Maybe
what they go keep doing, just buying old. They go keep getting guards that's past their prime. That's stupid.
I mean, him with Kawhi and PG would be nice. I ain't gonna lie.
That's another discussion. That's somebody else that needs to get traded. Kawhi and PG. But Ain't that crazy? Everybody was talking, and I'll be fair to admit, everybody was talking crap about Anthony Davis, even though he did get hurt last night. I think he's okay, but he's the last man standing out of everybody that most of the time got hurt less than him, but he was always viewed as a hurt player. But Kawhi was hurt, Paul George was hurt, Chris Paul was hurt. And those are players that are viewed to be more healthy than AD. He's the last one standing. Just saying.
You know what offsets that though is Anthony Davis never established himself as the number one option on a team. Never did it.
He was close to it in the bubble.
Very close.
He was close,
Very
like
close.
hella close. But
yeah.